Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. In Matthew chapter 17, we read about Jesus' transfiguration. And that was a time in which Peter, James, and John were able to go up on the Mount of Transfiguration and see Jesus transfigured before them. It says that in verse 2, he says, "And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his garments became as white as light." And so here we have Jesus changing the way that he was viewed by Peter, James, and John. And it's been suggested that perhaps what's happening here is not necessarily just that Jesus is changing his appearance, but that the true reality of who he is was just allowed to shine through. And so that it wasn't just that he was once human and then all of a sudden he had glory, but that the glory of God that was within him at all times was now being revealed and shown forth so that the disciples could see Jesus for what he truly was. And I think that that is very feasible to think about. Of course, Jesus was and is the Son of God, and he was God in the flesh. Uh, Even when he was in human flesh, he was still God. And so there is a very good chance that the glory of God was still within him, just veiled by his human flesh. And on the Mount of Transfiguration, that glory was able to shine forth and be revealed to his disciples. And so what this shows us is that sometimes what we see isn't really the absolute reality of things. In other words, sometimes we have things veiled to us. And I would say we for sure have things veiled to us here on this earth. And it's important for us to be able to recognize and be aware of the true reality behind the things that we see. Here, the disciples who had seen Jesus in his humanity, they had seen him sweating, they had seen him eating, they had seen him sleeping, now see him in his manifested glory. And as we're going through life and as we are interacting with people, as we're dealing with situations, as we're traversing this earth, we too need to realize that the things that we see are, in a sense, a veil over the true realities or realities that exist beyond this world. We see this with Elisha's servant in 2 Kings chapter 6. In 2 Kings chapter 6, there you have an instance where Elisha and his servant are trapped in the city, and this army is coming up against them. The Arameans are coming up against them, and Elisha's servant becomes fearful. And then Elisha prays for him that his eyes would be open. He says, "O Lord, I pray, open his eyes that he may see." This is in 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 17. And the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. It's not that Elisha prayed and then a bunch of chariots just showed up, come bolting out of heaven and showed up on the scene. They were already there, but Elisha's servant just had his eyes open to see the chariots and the Lord's army that was gathered around them, these spiritual beings that were there to render aid to them. We could also look at Ephesians chapter 6. It talks about the fact that, oftentimes when we are dealing with struggles and trials, especially with in connection to other people, it's not flesh and blood that we're really dealing with. In Ephesians chapter 6, it says in verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places." There, Paul recognizes a reality behind the things that we see, these dark forces, these spiritual beings that are working behind the scenes to try to work against us and to keep us from standing in faith and walking before the Lord faithfully. And so what all this teaches us is that we need to look beyond just what we see. I would encourage all of us today to walk with the awareness of the spiritual realities that exist all around us. It could be that we too, as we're walking to our car or driving to work or wherever we're going, we might be surrounded by angels and chariots of fire and all these things, and we're not even aware of it. But we should be aware of it because of the fact that the scriptures reveal to us that there is this other dimension, this other spiritual realm in which all of these other things are going on. And to realize that we are a part of this existence, this reality that goes beyond just the physical things that we see. And so when we pray with the awareness that there is a God who sees us. We pray with the awareness that there are angels all around us. We pray with, and we interact with people with the knowledge that there are also evil forces out there that are trying to work against us. And we pray over that, and we pray in the spirit and things like that. And just be aware of what's beyond just what our eyes can see. The disciples were able to see it on the Mount of Transfiguration, and hopefully we can see it too with our spiritual eyes and be able to recognize those things and be able to respond appropriately. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.